All right. When you're dealing with the fill the blank question, it's the same strategy as section 1 or as section 2. It's the same strategy in section 3. It's fill the blank. So you pay attention to the language that's before and after the blank line. You pay attention to that language that's before and after the blank line. What you have to watch for in section 4 is that there's a lot of extra talk. There's a lot of extra talk. And there's one word, your answer choice is limited to one word, everybody. You should see that in your book in front of you. Your answer choice is one word. All right, your answer choice is one word. So there's a lot of extra talk. And so like in between number 31 and 32, they might just say 2 or 3 extra sentences. And they're doing that on purpose. They're doing that on purpose. They're doing that as a distraction. They want to distract you. They want to distract you from being able to follow the conversation. So it's really important that you're able to keep up with the conversation. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get started now, and we'll answer questions 31 through 40. I'm going to give you about 30 more seconds to look at the questions.
Ano ako pwede kong download yung
Okay, the listening is about to begin.
Section 4. You will hear a lecturer in psychology talking about a type of memory. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Today, we'll be continuing the series of lectures on memory by focusing on what is called episodic memory and what can happen if this is not working properly. Episodic memory refers to the memory of an event or episode. Episodic memories allow us to mentally travel back in time to an event from the past. Episodic memories include various details about these events. For example, when an event happened and other information such as the location. To help understand this concept, try to remember the last time you ate dinner at a restaurant. The ability to remember where you ate, who you were with, and the items you ordered are all features of an episodic memory. Episodic memory is distinct from another type of memory called semantic memory. This is the type of factual memory that we have in common with everyone else. That is your general knowledge of the world. To build upon a previous example, remembering where you parked your car is an example of episodic memory. But your understanding of what a car is and how an engine works are examples of semantic memory. Unlike episodic memory, semantic memory isn't dependent on recalling personal experiences. Episodic memory can be thought of as a process with several different steps of memory processing, encoding, consolidation, and retrieval. The initial step is called encoding. This involves the process of receiving and registering information which is necessary for creating memories of information or events that you experience. The degree to which you can successfully encode information depends on the level of attention you give to an event while it's actually happening. Being distracted can make effective encoding very difficult. Encoding of episodic memories is also influenced by how you process the event. For example, if you were introduced to someone called Charlie, you might make the connection that your uncle has the same name. Future recollection of Charlie's name is much easier if you have a strategy to help you encode it. Memory consolidation, the next step in forming an episodic memory, is the process by which memories of encoded information are strengthened, stabilized, and stored to facilitate later retrieval. Consolidation is most effective when the information being stored can be linked to an existing network of information. Consolidation makes it possible for you to store memories for later retrieval indefinitely. Forming strong memories depends on the frequency with which you try to retrieve them. Memories can fade or become harder to retrieve if they aren't used very often. The last step in forming episodic memories is called retrieval, which is the conscious recollection of encoded information. Retrieving information from episodic memory depends upon semantic, olfactory, auditory, and visual factors. These help episodic memory retrieval by acting as a prompt. For example, when recalling where you parked your car, you may use the color of a sign close to where you parked. You actually have to mentally travel back to the moment you parked. There are a wide range of neurological diseases and conditions that can affect episodic memory. These range from Alzheimer's to schizophrenia to autism. An impairment of episodic memory can have a profound effect on individuals' lives. For example, the symptoms of schizophrenia can be reasonably well controlled by medication. However, patients' episodic memory may still be impaired, and so they are often unable to return to university or work. Recent studies have shown that computer-assisted games designed to keep the brain active can help improve their episodic memory. Episodic memories can help people connect with others, for instance by sharing intimate details about their past, something individuals with autism often have problems with. This may be caused by an absence of a sense of self. This is essential for the storage of episodic memory and has been found to be impaired in children with autism. Research has shown that treatments that improve memory may also have a positive impact on children's social development. One study looked
Okay, let's look at the answer choices. Number 31, the answer is location. She mentioned various details, and then she said, for example. Right, when she said, for example, that's the same meaning as e.g., essentially. When I heard, for example, that made my ears perk up because I know they're about to give the answer. For example, when it happened is a synonym for what? Time. And then they said, and location. So the answer for 31 is location. They're using a lot of paraphrasing, and you have to be able to pick up on that language. And then after number 31, you had some extra talk. Just extra talk. They don't go directly from 31 to 32. When you're at sections 1 and 2, they do much more of that. They go directly from question 11 to question 12. But now we're in section 4, so they may just have a couple of extra sentences of talking about what they just mentioned, and then they move into number 32. Number 32, the answer was world. She mentioned about semantic memory, and then she said it's general knowledge of. General knowledge of is a paraphrasing for saying general information about. And then the answer choice is world. W-O-R-L-D. World. Hold on, a couple questions. I'm stuck after 33. Everybody, and on the exam, it's only played once. It's only played once, everybody. There's no can I hear it twice? It's only played once. It's only played once. I've told you, this section 3 and 4 are the separators. Right? Section 3 and 4 are the separators. Section 4 is only played once. Okay, it's only played once. But as I'm going through the answer choices, you're going to hear that it's the same thing. It's just synonyms. It's synonyms and paraphrasing, but the language is more difficult. Right? Sometimes people say, do you have a special strategy for section 4? There is no special strategy for section 4. The strategy for section 1 and section 4 is exactly the same. The difference is the level of English. The difference is the level of English. Number 33. The answer is personal. Again, look at the language. She said it isn't dependent on. It isn't dependent on. That's the same as saying does not involve. It isn't dependent on recalling personal experience. It does not involve recalling personal experience. You have to listen for the language that is before and after that blank line. 33 is personal. 34 is attention. And here we're dealing with a word reorder. A word reorder. So for number 34, they took the end of the sentence. The more successfully it can be encoded, they took the end of the sentence and put it at the beginning. The degree to which you can encode depends on the level. Depending on the level is the same as talking about more. How much more? Depending on the level of attention given an event. Right? So again, they changed up the word order. They changed up the word order, but you have to be able to recognize when they say it depends on the level of, that is the same as saying or talking about more or how much more. And then after number 34, they have some extra talk before you get to 35. And again, that extra talk is also part of the difficulty, right? They put that in because they know that a certain level of student will be lost, especially when they have the extra talk. People get lost. But you have to be able to keep up with the conversation. That's what they're testing. Can you keep up with a long conversation? Or if somebody goes off on a tangent and then comes back, are you lost? Number 35, the answer is name. Again, she said future recollection, which means to remember. Future recollection of Charlie's name is much easier if you have a strategy. The answer number 35 is name. Right? You wouldn't put Charlie's name, and you wouldn't put Charlie, because that doesn't fit. Charlie's name, you put the word name. Okay, so those are the answers for 31 to 35. Yes, Everest. He is more talkative because this is section 4. They have extra talk in there for a reason. Section 4 is much more of an academic lecture, very often. And in any type of lecture that somebody gives, just think about being in a university class. You've heard professors talking, and then they start talking, they just, start saying some random sentences, and then they come back to where they are. They're seeing if you can follow that. They're seeing if you can keep up with that. Or do you get lost? That's what they're testing. All right, let's go to the next one. 36. I have it on another screen. 36 is network. They said is most effective when information is stored and can be linked. Can be linked is paraphrasing for added to an existing network, right? I hope you're recognizing you have to be able to pick up on the language that is said before or after the blank line. If you cannot pick up on that paraphrasing, you will be lost. You will not know when the answer is said. Also, one thing I'll say very quickly before I go through this is just some advice, because a lot of people don't know how to get better. You should notice how I'm breaking down a listening passage. Very often what students do, and the reason why they don't improve, is they just say, okay, I'm going to take this test, and then let me see how I did. How many did I get right? How many did I get wrong? And then I'm going to move into another test. And then I'm going to go ahead and do another test, and I'll just keep doing tests. And then they say, why am I not getting better? Because you're not practicing correctly. when you do a listening test, you should be breaking down every single question the way I'm breaking it down right now. You should be going back to it, listening for the language, listening for the paraphrase, writing it out, doing exactly what you see me doing in this video. If you're breaking down each answer choice and breaking down how they are trying to trick you, it doesn't matter if you got it right or wrong, right? After you've done the test, then you break it down, the answers you got right and the answers you got wrong. Looking and seeing how they use synonym language, looking for the paraphrasing, looking at how they do the word reorder. When you start doing that and practicing that kind of way, then you start recognizing it automatically. If you're just jumping from test to test to test, you're not going to get that much better. All right, number 37 is frequency. And here we're dealing with a word reorder for number 37. Forming strong memories. So we see at the end of number 37, strength of memories. They took strength of memories and they said that in the beginning. So it moved from actually third to first. I have first to third. It moved from being the third part of the sentence to the first part of the sentence. Forming strong memories depends on frequency with which you try to retrieve them. They're changing up the word order of the sentence. They did that for 37. They did that for 38. They did that for number 40. Changing up word order, changing up word order. Number 38 is color. Recalling where a car is parked. That's the end of the sentence. So it moved from the last part to the first part. Recalling where a car is parked. You may use the color. Then they said the answer choice of a sign. A sign is a paraphrase for what? Object. Right? Of an object. They didn't say of an object. They said a sign. You have to recognize that when they say it's sign, they're talking about an object. What's connected to that is the word color. You got to pick up on the language that's before and after the blank line. I know I'm repeating that, but people want to know what's the key. That's the key thing you have to do. Then after 38, you have a lot of extra talk. Again, that's a distraction trap. Extra talk. 39 is brain. Studies show computer-assisted games designed to keep the brain active. Active is what? The same as stimulate. Right? If you picked up on that, you could pick up on the answer as brain. And then number 40, the answer is self. Here, if you look at number 40, we have a hyphen. Now what they did was, they took the language that's after the hyphen and said it in the beginning. They reordered it and said it in the beginning. And they took the language that's before the hyphen and said it at the end. And they reworded it. Right? But they said caused by, because of, caused by an absence of self. The concept of self. Okay, so it's all about paraphrasing, word reorder, paraphrasing, word reorder, synonyms, paraphrasing. That's what they're doing. 15 questions. Okay, hold on one second. Let me go back. Yeah, you could write color. I see a lot. It doesn't matter. You could write the British version of color or the American version of color. It doesn't matter. Both are correct.
I know that's not mine.
Color. Third, yeah, color, yes. Color, yeah, color. Brains is wrong. If you put an S on brain, you are wrong. I've answered that about color already, everybody. Okay. All right. So that will conclude matters for today. I hope this was helpful in terms of going through a listening passage. I go over all of this in the lectures also, but sometimes people want to hear it this way also. But I hope you understand a little bit more about what you have to do when it comes to listening. You understand a little bit more about how to recognize the correct answer choice, because that's what's really, really important. How to improve your skills on paraphrasing. Yeah, Bindu, if you want to improve your skills on paraphrasing, do what I did in this lesson today. Go through all the questions and write down how they're paraphrasing. Are you doing that? If you're not doing that, Bindu, then you're not improving your working on paraphrasing. Go through the listening, and pull out and write down exactly how do it exactly how I'm doing it. All right, that's how you improve. That's the way that you improve. Is doing it exactly the way that I'm doing it. Yeah, some of the previous live classes are in there. I don't put them all in there because my course is too long already. I can't put in, like for example, if I decide to put this one in, I'm going to delete something else. I take things out, put things in, because I can't. The course is too long already, and I can't put everything in there. I can't put every live class, but a lot of them are in there. But yeah, some of them are in there. Is there a website which could provide a simulator to practice the IELTS? Yeah, I don't know of a simulator website for the IELTS exam. The live classes, if you're looking in the listening section, after I go through all the lectures, look at the next section. There's a section that says live classes. There's a section that says live classes. That's where you'll find that information. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Have a fantastic day. Be safe. Wash your hands. For all
Old
of those that
Navy
are
and
celebrating
let's not.
Ramadan, have a
I don't
happy
have
and
Old
blessed
Navy.
Ramadan.
I don't think I
Take
have
care.
anything else.
And when we have another live class next month, I will make an announcement. Two questions are questions 11 through 14. Right? Section 2, test 3, section 2. And we're looking at questions 11 and 12 and 13 and 14. Okay? Now, when we're looking at this type of question, like question number 11 and 12, it says, which two activities that volunteers do are mentioned? Right? So when you're looking at this kind of question, right, you want to make sure, like, we're looking at the words that we need to look at. We have two activities that volunteers do. Right? When you're looking at this, the most important word here, who can tell me what's the most important word in this question? What's the most important word in this question that we have to really, really listen for? Does anybody know? Right? The most important word that we have to listen for is do. Right? Which two activities do the volunteers do? Because when you're listening, when they're playing the audio, yeah, do. And specifically do. Because when they're playing the audio, they're going to play with that word. They're either going to say this is something that they don't do, they're going to say something that this is something that they actually do. And and a lot of times what they're going to use, they're going to use synonyms. Now, if this question is in part 2, they might be more direct in their language. If this question is in part 3, They may use a lot of synonyms and paraphrasing around the words do. So you want to pay attention to that, right? And then in the next part down here in 13 and 14, we're looking at ways that volunteers can actually benefit. All right, ways that volunteers can actually benefit. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the audio. I'm going to play the audio for I'm going to play the audio for these first two questions, I mean for 11, 12, 13, and 14, and then I'm going to go through the answers and go through the reasoning behind the answers.
Section 2. You will hear a woman talking to a group of college students about volunteering to help other people. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 14. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 14.
Good morning. My name's Lucy Crittenden, and I'm the Director of Operations for an organisation that arranges volunteering in this part of the country. I'm hoping I can persuade one or two of you to become volunteers yourselves. Let me start by briefly explaining what we mean by volunteering. Volunteers are teenagers and adults who choose to spend some time unpaid helping other people in some way. Most volunteers devote 2 or 3 hours to this every week, while a few do much more. The people they help may have physical or behavioural difficulties, for example. Volunteers can do all sorts of things, depending on their own abilities and interests. If they're supporting a family that's struggling, for example, they may be able to give them tips on cooking, or recommend how to plan their budget, or how to shop sensibly on their income. They might even do some painting or wallpapering, perhaps alongside any members of the family who are able to do it. Or even do some babysitting, so the parents can go out for a while. The benefit from volunteering isn't only for the people being helped. Volunteers also gain from it. They're using their skills to cope with somebody's mental or physical ill health, and volunteering may be a valuable element of their CV when they're applying for jobs. Employers usually look favourably on someone who's given up time to help others. Significantly, most volunteers feel that what they're doing gives them a purpose in their lives. And in my opinion, they're lucky in that respect, as many people don't have that feeling.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time.
Okay, everybody. So let's go over this very quickly. For numbers 11 and 12, right? The answers for 11 and 12 are A and E, or if you write E and A, it's going to be, it's either way is fine. It doesn't matter the direction that you write. Okay, it doesn't matter the direction in terms of you write A and E or E and A. Did anybody get a different answer than A and E or E and A? Did anybody get a different answer? D. All right, so why did you all choose D? All right, I'm going to explain to you why D is wrong. Okay? I'm going to explain to you why D is wrong. All right, so let me make the typing a little bit bigger so we can see. Right, the keywords are activities they do. The keywords are activities they do. Now, when it comes to shopping, what did the person say? They said they can recommend planning a budget or shopping sensibly. Right now, is making a recommendation an activity that you do? Yes or no? No. Right? If you're thinking about that, the answer is no. Right? So that's why I've told you have to pay attention to the key words in the question. Right? They said activities that they do. They said what they said they said in terms of the answers. They said they might do. Sorry. I went too far down.
We need coconut milk and cream.
They said they might do painting. Right? That's what they said. They might do painting. All right. And they said they might do babysitting. Right? Those are the two things that they might do. Also, they said in terms of why this one is wrong, like for example, that's why this one is wrong, right? Because they recommend it. All right, giving a recommendation is not an activity that you do. Also, some students might have chosen as an answer choice, they might have chosen delivering meals. I don't know why, but they said tips on cooking. Again, the key thing is giving a tip is not an activity that you do. Okay? So it's really, really important that you pay attention to the key words. Right? Okay, good. Now, in the next part, okay, let's go. For number, okay, we haven't done 13 and 14 yet. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and did we do 13 and 14 or no? I can't remember. Did I do 13 and 14 yet or no? Or did I stop? I did 13 and 14? Okay, so number 13, okay, yeah, we did. Okay, yeah, I'm looking at my sheet here. 13 is what? Who has 13 and 14? Right, yeah. 13 and 14 are B and E, right, in terms of the answers with 13 and 14 are B and E or E and B. It doesn't matter which order that you put them in, right? And they talked about that it can give a purpose in their life, and also they said it could be a valuable element for your CD when you're applying for a job. Okay? Now, let me explain to you how they tried to trick you or get you to choose a wrong answer. Did anybody choose other answers other than B and E? Did somebody choose any different answers? Christina, what did you choose?
Sure.
Christina chose C.
Styrofoam, di ba?
All right, so
Hindi yan nagdi-degrade.
Christina, for C, it says the question says which two ways that volunteers can benefit. Right now, for C, it says they can benefit by realizing how lucky they are. Now, this is what the person said. The person said, in terms of this question here, the person said, in my opinion, they are lucky. Right? So that's not any benefit. Luck, realizing how lucky you are is not a stated benefit for the volunteers. Right? The speaker just said, in my opinion, they are lucky. Okay? That's her own personal opinion. But realizing how lucky you are was not a benefit to the volunteers. Okay? So with these kind of questions, you have to make sure that you really, really focus on what the question is actually stating. In 11 and 12, we want to know what activities the volunteers can actually do. And in 13 and 14, we want to know two ways they can actually benefit. All right? Does anyone have any questions so far? No questions so far? Okay, great. So let's go ahead and move on to the next part. Uh-oh, that's too far. Okay, so now we have a question where we have several choices in the box. We have 7 options in the box here, right? And we have these names 15 through 20. Now, for this question, we already know what this question is about. Okay, the question actually says, and I should show it to you. Trying to make sure I can fit everything on the screen. It says, what has each of the following volunteers helped someone to do? Right? What has each of the following volunteers helped someone to do? So first they're going to mention this name Habib, and they're going to say that Habib helped do one of these 7 things. Right? Habib helped do one of these 7 things. That's what Habib helped to do. And then next they're going to go to Consuela, then Min, then Tanya, then Alexi. They're going to go through the entire list. Now, when you're doing this kind of question, when you're doing this kind of question, you want to be able to pay attention to the keywords in A, B, C, and D. Right? So here, right, in A, they're going to be most likely focusing on somebody connected to doing something with physical difficulties. This one, of course, is going to be connected to rediscovering some skills. This one is going to be connected to improving and communication. Right. This one is going to be doing what? Talking about solving something independently. All right, and then we have escaping isolation. We have remembering the past, and also starting a hobby. Now, when you're doing this kind of question, it's not going to be just very straightforward. They're not going to say, sometimes they're not going to say the exact words in A or the exact words in B. They're going to paraphrase. And so that's what the test is. When they talk about Habib, they're going to maybe use some language, and you have to look at A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and decide which one of those answer choices matches the language which they said. All right, so let's go ahead and listen to it and do the best you can, and afterwards I'll go over the questions.
To look at questions 15 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 15 to 20.
Now I'd like to tell you what some of our volunteers have said about what they do, to give you an idea of the range of ways in which they can help people. Habib supports an elderly lady who's beginning to show signs of dementia. Once a week they, along with other elderly people, go to the local community centre where a group of people come in and sing. The songs take the listeners back to their youth, and for a little while they can forget the difficulties that they face now. Our volunteer Consuela is an amazing woman. She has difficulty walking herself, but she doesn't let that stop her. She helps a couple of people with similar difficulties who had almost stopped walking altogether. By using herself as an example, Consuela encourages them to walk more and more. Min visits a young man who lives alone and can't leave his home on his own, so he hardly ever saw anyone. But together they go out to the cinema or to see friends the young man hadn't been able to visit for a long time. Tanya visits an elderly woman once a week. When the woman found out that Tanya is a professional dressmaker, she got interested. Tanya showed her some soft toys she'd made, and the woman decided to try it herself. And now she really enjoys it and spends hours making toys. They're not perhaps up to Tanya's standard yet, but she gains a lot of pleasure from doing it. Alexei is a volunteer with a family that faces a number of difficulties. By calmly talking over possible solutions with family members, he's helping them to realise that they aren't helpless and that they can do something themselves to improve their situation. This has been great for their self-esteem. And the last volunteer I'll mention, though there are plenty more, is Juba. She volunteers with a teenage girl with learning difficulties who wasn't very good at talking to other people. Juba's worked very patiently with her, and now the girl is far better at expressing herself and at understanding other people. Okay, I hope that's given you an idea of what volunteering is all about. Now I'd like to talk to you about...
Okay. All right, how about number 15? Does anybody have 15? All right, so you all are all over the board. I've gotten, wow. Okay, so this is the question that you all have problems with. I can see that now. Because I've gotten, for this first question, I've gotten 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 different answers. How do we get 6 different answers for 15? All right. What did the person say? What did the person say? Okay, that's what makes a difference. What did the person say? The person said what for a B? Let's make this a little bit smaller. The person said for her B. $15 is not B. Well, I'm sorry. Yeah, 15. No. No, 15 is not B. 15. No, I'm not going to play it again, but I'll just explain to you what they said. Okay. I'm gonna tell you what they said. I'm going to paraphrase what they said. Right, so he takes a woman and others to a community center. They sing songs that takes them back to their youth. They sing songs that take them back to their youth. So what is that? That's what he's doing. He takes a woman and others to meet others at the community center, and they sing songs that takes them back to their youth. You have to hear that and then recognize what is the synonym for the activity. Right? He's helping people to remember their past times. They sing songs that takes them back to their youth. Right? They're not improving their communication skills. They're not rediscovering a skill. That's not what they said. They didn't say in the past these people were singers. Okay, you have to be able to hear the response and make the connection. That's what you have to be able to do. All right, now 16. What's 16? All right, great. So 16 was straightforward. 16 was straightforward, right? They said that this person has physical difficulties. He helps people, or she helps people with similar difficulties. This woman that stopped walking, right? So when they talk about stop walking, that's a synonym for what? Physical difficulties. Now, for number 15, I'm gonna go back to number 15 for a second, because they tried to trick you with number 15 when they were talking about what Habib was doing. They mentioned the word difficulty. Some people might have chosen A because they heard the word difficulty. Okay, and you can't fall into that kind of trick. Now for number 17, what do we have for number 17? And if you're going to give me an answer, put like 17 and then put the answer, okay? Well, otherwise I'm going to lose track of what you're talking about. Right, yeah, 17 was also very, very straightforward. 17 is E. Okay? Because they say there's this man who can't leave his room, who can't go anywhere on his own, and together they go to the movies. So the synonym is what? Escaping isolation. So in terms of practicing, and I'm going to state this now. In terms of practicing, where a lot of students make a big mistake is they just keep taking practice test after practice test after practice test, and you don't go back and work on the skill. So a lot of times what I suggest people to do is take the time after you do this and write down the synonym language. Right? The man is on his own, he cannot go out. That's the synonym for talking about escaping isolation. Get in the habit of being able to recognize what the synonym language is. Write it down so you can get in that habit, because with this kind of question, that's what they're doing over and over and over again. All right, number 18. All right, number 18 is G. Right, and the reason why they said this woman was watching Tanya making toys, and the woman got inspired and started making toys also. All right, that's a paraphrase of what they said. That relates to starting a new hobby. Right, that relates to, because it wasn't something she had done before. Right, it was something she did after watching her. She started doing it. Okay, number 19. Does anybody have 19? Okay, great. 19 was D. Okay, they said that he told the people they were not helpless. They were not helpless and can do something themselves. Okay? All right, and what about number 20? Let's see. All right, great job. Great job, great job, great job. All right, so far, does anyone have any questions? No questions? Okay, let's move on.